Hey my friend, Adam here, and today I'm going to help you choose the absolute best advertising platform for your business. I'll give you my thoughts, my secrets, and my strategies, and what you actually need to know in order to create better and more effective ads that actually grow your business. And share with you what I've learned after over a decade now of running an advertising agency and having spent over $70 million on ads on pretty much every single advertising platform out there. And there are a lot of different ad platforms out there. Too many actually, from Facebook ads and Instagram ads to YouTube ads and TikTok ads. There's also Google ads and Twitter ads and Pinterest ads, not to mention LinkedIn ads and Snapchat ads, and the list goes on and on. It's a crazy and overwhelming list, and each one of those ad platforms has its own dashboard and policies and styles and types of content and ads that performs best. No wonder so many business owners and entrepreneurs and even full-time marketers have a hard time keeping up with everything. But allow me to let you in on a little secret. Not all ad platforms are created equal. So while some of them are going to allow you to reach a whole new audience and tap into a market of new and potential customers, others are just going to leave you frustrated and overwhelmed and broke. And I want better for you. So I'm going to help you narrow down these choices to only the top 1 or 2 that are going to be the best fit for you and your business. You see, choosing the right advertising platform is one of the most important elements in making sure that your advertising actually works and gets results and makes you back more money than you have to put into it. After all, it's not going to do you any good to spend money trying to advertise your business on a platform that isn't just jam-packed with potential buyers and customers for whatever it is you're trying to sell. Or in other words, don't waste money on people who aren't there or don't care. That's actually kind of a catchy slogan. The goal of advertising is to generate a positive ROI, or return on investment, or in the advertising world, a positive ROAS, or return on ad spend. So here's where I believe you should start, and you can always scale up later and tap into new platforms once you're more comfortable in getting that positive ROI. The criteria I use to evaluate and to make these recommendations comes from not only my experience of over 10 years of running ads, but also looking at things from a beginner advertiser's perspective. And these are the 8 criteria that I used. Number 1, ease of use, and the overall time to launch to get a new campaign going. So how easy is it to actually get that first ad going without getting lost or confused or overwhelmed and having to jump through a million different hoops? Number 2 is the dashboard or user interface. What's it look like? Is it clean and simple and easy enough to get the necessary and relevant information out of? Or does it require complicated analysis and third-party software and maybe even exporting spreadsheets just to try to figure out what's even going on, not to mention what's working and what isn't? Number 3 is all of the targeting and targeting options. How detailed and accurate are the targeting options inside the different ad platforms, and how easy is it for you to select your ideal customer avatar and that one person that you actively want to target, including things like their demographic details, their age and gender and income occupation, geographic details like what city, state, province, and country they live in, and the all-important psychographic details like their values, their attitudes, their lifestyles, and their beliefs. Number 4 is the available audience, or the TAM. In other words, how many people can you actually reach on these advertising platforms? In marketing, we call it a TAM, which stands for total addressable market. And it's an important factor when trying to decide on a different advertising platform to make sure that you actually have the potential to reach the people that you want to. Number 5 is placements, and this includes things like feeds or stories or reels, essentially all of the places that you can put your ad on the platform. And are they going to give you priority or allow you to put your ad directly in front of someone, or are they going to bury it in the back corner, never to be seen again? Number 6 is the creative. So what are the text or the audio or the video options? And what styles or formats or lengths of each of those are you able to use? Number 7 is tracking. This has to do with pixels as well as in-app audiences. This is kind of the hot button issue of the day when it comes to advertising, as ever since Apple came out with iOS 14, well, it's made tracking and pixels and cookies and all of the stuff around privacy and user information that much more complicated. That said, tracking still works, just not as well as it used to. You need to be a little bit strategic and try a few different angles and ideas. One of which is using in-app audiences, or essentially targeting people and retargeting them based on how they've interacted and engaged with your content inside the advertising platform itself. And number 8 is cost, which comes down to CPM and the overall competition. See, advertising is usually done on an auction basis, which means the cost that you're going to pay is going to be based on the overall amount of people on the app, as well as the other competitors that are bidding for the attention of the same audience you're trying to reach. Now, this one is the hardest to try to quantify and assign a real tangible number to. After all, it's based on your business and your market and your industry and the people you're trying to reach, not to mention the quality of the ad that you're creating. But still important, so we got to talk about it. The big thing we want to keep an eye on here is the CPM, or cost per mil, which is how much it costs you to get in front of people 1,000 times, or 1,000 people one time. So taking all of that into consideration, the best places to start for most businesses out there are Facebook and Instagram. And here's why. Facebook and Instagram are both owned by Meta, which means you can run ads for both platforms through the exact same ads dashboard, which, in my opinion, is the second easiest dashboard to navigate and use. I'll tell you my top dashboard in just a minute. Creating an ad is as easy as hitting create ad and then choosing what you want it to do, like leads, sales, awareness, engagement. Then walking through the settings, inputting your placements, targeting, and ad creative options, which is the same as most platforms out there. Now, both Facebook and Instagram do have boost post and promote post options that allow you to get an ad up and running very quickly, but I'd recommend not using those and taking the time to set up an ad campaign properly from start to finish. I feel pretty strongly about this one, so I'll make sure to link up a video in the descriptions below that explains why you should never boost a post and what to do instead. The targeting options and available audiences are amazing with Facebook and Instagram, seeing as it's used by billions and billions of people, and you've got a ton of different placements and creative options available. Though, if you're just getting started, I'd recommend sticking to the default option, which currently is all placements. This feature is found at the ad set level, or targeting only the newsfeed for a standard ad, or the Reels placements for a Reels ad. Now, when it comes to tracking and pixels and cookies, well, they've obviously taken quite a bit of a hit, just like most ad networks out there, but there's still some pretty powerful things you can do using in-app retargeting audiences based on how somebody has engaged or interacted with your content inside Facebook or Instagram. And as for cost, well, it's kind of right down the middle. It's not the most expensive, it's not the cheapest. All in all, it's really hard not to recommend Facebook and Instagram as the main and starting place for most businesses out there. So I'll make sure to link up a video at the end of this one that's going to give you some of my best tips and strategies on how to create Facebook ads in the best way possible. Okay, so if you're already running Facebook or Instagram ads, or you know for sure that your audience is on a different platform, the next advertising channel that you want to take a look at is TikTok. Here's the deal. If you're already running Facebook or Instagram ads, then you should also probably be using the Reels placement on those platforms. And seeing as Reels are a copy version, one might say a direct clone of TikTok, well, there's no reason not to use the same or a similar style of ad and put it on TikTok as well in order to compare how it performs there. I'll put a link to a TikTok Ads for Business quick start in the descriptions below this video as well if you want to sign up for a TikTok Ads account to test things out. Now, when it comes to ease of use and time to launch your first TikTok ad, this one's a little bit slower than Facebook and Instagram, but that's okay with me. After all, I don't like using or recommend the boost post or promote post button and would prefer that you set up a campaign properly from start to finish anyway. And when it comes to dashboards and the user interface, well, the TikTok ads dashboard is actually my favorite of all of them. It's simple, it's clean, it's easy to use. There's even a simplified mode that allows you to get set up even faster, but with less control than in the custom mode. That's why for most ad platforms, including TikTok, I advise spending a little bit of time playing around with the ad platform, as the custom options are just going to give you so much more control and so many different options when it comes to creating better and more effective ads. The targeting options and available audience on TikTok are fantastic and only getting bigger as TikTok continues to grow. And if you've run Facebook ads or Instagram ads before, well, then the objectives here are going to look pretty similar. Bit of a spoiler, but the objectives for YouTube ads and Google ads also look pretty similar. But that kind of makes sense. After all, the reason you're running ads is probably to increase clicks or traffic or leads or sales or some kind of engagement. And that's kind of what they all offer. Now, with 1 billion users on TikTok, there's no shortage of an available audience. And the targeting options are great. just like the others really. But TikTok does have an advantage, at least over Facebook and Instagram, when it comes to targeting, in that it allows you to target household income. Google and YouTube have this too, but it's an incredibly powerful feature if you're selling something more expensive or a luxury item or to an affluent buyer. Placements and creative are obviously limited to the main TikTok feed, but it's not a bad thing either, as it eliminates some of the variables. It does give you an option to create a single video, a single image, or a collection of ads, but bit of a pro tip here, just do the single video. Tends to work best. When it comes to tracking and pixels, well, it's pretty similar to everything else as well. They naturally do have a pixel that you can and should install on your website or any places off the platform, but my preference is to create those in-market audiences, those in-app audiences based on how people have engaged and interacted with your content right inside of TikTok. Basically, these in-app audiences are faster, they're easier, and they're more accurate. As for cost, TikTok ads do tend to come in cheaper to get those impressions, but they may be harder to convert. And will likely require more ads and more videos and more frequency and more touch points and more repetition and different hooks in order to crack the code and really find that winning ad combination for your audience. All that said, if you're already doing TikTok organically, or you know for a fact that an audience that you want to reach is on TikTok, then TikTok ads are a very powerful tool to look at. Okay, next up, YouTube ads. YouTube ads have kind of been a bit of a secret weapon in the advertising world for years now. This is because, at least when compared to Facebook and Instagram ads, YouTube ads are harder to set up and get started with. They're a little more complicated to optimize, and obviously require a video, and ideally a longer form video, which takes a lot more work as well and adds even more complexity to the game. That said, YouTube ads are an amazing way to tap into a market of billions of people and establish a presence on YouTube without having to spend years creating hundreds of videos to build up an audience organically. So here are some of the things you want to consider and think about when evaluating if a YouTube ad strategy is right for you. First, just like how Meta owns Facebook and Instagram, Google owns YouTube. What this means is that you can create YouTube ads and Google ads from the same dashboard. The ease of use and time to launch a new YouTube ad is the longest of all of the different platforms because it's a little bit trickier to navigate the dashboard, not to mention the obvious variable of needing a longer form YouTube video. If you've never done it before, it's going to require scripting and recording and editing. Still worth it, but something to consider. The dashboard is okay. It's one of those things that you get a little bit more comfortable with, and it becomes a little bit easier to use over time. But it's not incredibly intuitive, especially when it comes to tracking and to conversions, but more on that in just a second. The targeting options and available audience, however, they're amazing. Not only does YouTube give you access to billions and billions of people, but you can also target them based on the keywords that they're searching for, the topics that they're interested in, as well as something that they call in-market and affinity segments that give you access to even more people. You've got a ton of placement options, as well as exclusion options to make sure that your ad doesn't show up somewhere that you don't want it to, somewhere that would be bad for your brand and for your business. The creative aspect of this is obviously video, and that alongside with your targeting options are going to have the biggest impact in the overall success of your campaign. But I mean, it's kind of true with any ad platform, really. You need a good ad if you want it to work. And if it's not working, it's not a good ad. At least when it comes to generating results and having the people that you're showing it to be interested enough to actually take action. Tracking here is awesome and incredibly effective thanks to the Google Pixel. However, conversion tracking does get a little more complicated as it requires a separate piece of code in line with the original Google code. Nothing crazy, but definitely not the easiest platform if all of this is new to you. As for the cost, expect to pay more. Way more. But when combined with good targeting and a really good ad, you can also expect to get more if everything works out well. All that said, if YouTube ads are something that you're doing or are considering, I'd also seriously advise taking a look at more of an organic YouTube strategy as well. This is because YouTube is continuing to grow and get bigger and stronger as more and more people use the platform and they continue to refine their audience and their algorithms. Okay, next up, Google ads. Google ads are a special kind of ad that works for a special kind of business. And that special kind of business is one that people are actively searching for. Now, when it comes to Google ads, almost 90% of what I covered about YouTube ads applies here. After all, it's the same dashboard, mostly same targeting options, and same tracking and conversion pixels. The biggest difference then is the format of the ads themselves, and the fact that Google ads, the kind I recommend you use, which are the search ads, appear at the top of the search engines when someone types in a keyword that's relevant to your business. So, here's what you need to know. First, the available audience is 4.3 billion people. Now, obviously, you're gonna wanna trim that down a little bit based on keywords and possibly location and maybe language and other variables, but it still essentially allows you to reach anyone and everyone who's searching for something. The creative aspect here is obviously limited to text. Yes, there are display ads like banners and shopping ads, and discovery ads that allow you to run ads in Gmail and all kinds of other fancy and wonderful tools. But the main thing here is search. Reaching customers interested in your product or service with text ads. So that covers both placements, because we're just limiting it to search, and the creative elements, because your main tool here is text. Just good old-fashioned words. Google ads aren't the easiest, but when they're done correctly, they're incredibly powerful. All that said, I stand by my original recommendation that Facebook ads and Instagram ads are going to give you the best bang for your advertising buck. So to help you create better and more effective Facebook ads, I've linked up a video right here that's going to give you some of my top strategies on how to create high-converting Facebook ads. So make sure to check it out now, and I'll see you in the next video. So if your ads aren't working and people aren't clicking on them or signing up or buying or anything like that, well, it's simply because they don't see the value in what you're offering.